and we've got 3 more dice to roll. We just shove them up there to try to avoid too much confusion. And there's 3 more hits. That is monster, absolutely monster. This is Axis and Allies 1914 on the Tour Desk channel. Today we are playing with a cracker of a house rule called Righteous Heir. Before we get going, may I mention that I make these videos in aid of a charity called Cure Parkinson's. You can guess what they're trying to do. There is a link to them below this video, one in the About section on the channel page. If you happen to have a spare dollar, euro, yen, or British pound, you can send to them. I'm sure that they appreciate it. So this house rule fits onto one A4 sheet. I'll get up onto BGG in the file section, Tour or less name, you'll find it there somewhere, and the important part of it fits onto that bit there. The rest of it is flam and waffle, because I like a good waffle. So, we grab me bins. In the base game, and I'm not going to knock the base game, because I do love 1914, there is an anomaly, which is that the ground units throw 1 dice at each other, or 1 handful of dice at each other, and that's the battle done. The navy units, they throw dice at each other, and their battles can end on the first round of combat, and have the option of withdrawing and staying in the same sea zone. When you come to the air attacks, however, it's always a fight to the death. And apart from you're trying to establish air supremacy, I can't think of a single reason as to why. Back in the day, when all those horrors were happening, the air units, and as you know, units are just a general term for what happens. Infantry is infantry, horses, dogs, the medical centre, whatever else it is. But the air units were not just the planes, it was guys on towers, it was guys on ropes tethered to a balloon being fudged up with their old telescope and say, I can see some guys over the hill, throw some artillery that way, send some troops around that way. And so the fight to the death thing, which you have in this game, trying to establish air supremacy, it doesn't sit 100% right with me. So this Righteous Heir house rule addresses that in what I think is actually quite an easy way. It's easier to play than it is to explain, but I should try to explain it to you as fast as I can without all my rambling. You give both powers in that space where that battle is taking place 2 chips, a green chip and a red chip. They hang on to them for a second. The initial round of air-to-air combat, which takes place in phase 3, step 2, determine air supremacy, and supremacy becomes a very loose word in this case, still takes place. The first round of combat will take place. Both planes or both sets of planes will try to bash each other. Should they survive, this rule then comes into to work. And often you will get planes lasting longer than just this 1 round of combat. Both players can then choose secretly a chip to play. There's a red chip and a green chip. If you play a green chip and both players play green chips, they both continue their air-to-air combat for another round. And you'll check this after every round of combat. If both players play a red chip, they both say, we don't want to fight anymore, their planes still stay there. And they give that boost of a 3 to a 4 on their artillery to both sides in that combat. It leads to some absolutely brutal battles, and brutal battles, big handfuls of dice, rolling at 4 or less, just floats my boat. The third condition is if one player plays a let's go for it green chip and one player says whoa with a red chip, then you get that little conflict. What happens then is the bold player who's played that green chip, all of their artillery gets boosted from a 3 to a 4. The guys that have played the red chip, only half of their artillery gets boosted from a 3 to a 4. It may seem like it's quite strong, but I think it's quite reflective of what may have happened or what could have happened back in the day. And it does lead to some interesting new quandaries for the player, because they may have, say, an excess of artillery units that they're happy to play just their red ship and risk only half of them getting boosted up from a 3 to a 4 because they've still got double the amount of artillery that the opposition might have in the battle. You'll be considering what you've got in air, what you've got coming through in your supply line, and what you've got in the general battlefield around. That is the way that this house rule works. Green and red ship, stop, go, or a halfway house. So it's probably going to take me 1 or 2 videos to get through this. It won't be a full run-through playthrough, there'll be some after-action reports, and I shall cut and shut now, get this game set up and rocking and rolling. And the next time I speak to you is when we get the first proper air-to-air battle taking place, where the result of that is going to directly affect those ground units in some kind of massive, relevant way with big handfuls of dice, because I love my big handfuls of dice. I'll see you in a mo. Okay, we've got to the end of turn number 1. Indeed, we're actually a couple of goes through to turn number 2, but I'll explain more of that in a minute. And the board does look quite unusual. If you're used to 1914, you won't be used to seeing Europe so empty and units so advanced. That is because we are playing with the Larry Harris tournament rules. Let me quickly just flash you through the rough premises, because it's important if you don't know. Ground units simply can move 2 spaces rather than 1 space, provided they're doing it in friendly, uncontested areas. Easy as that. So it means that the Germans have got through into France quickly and got through towards Moscow quickly, or could have done, but we'll go into that a little bit more in a minute. Also, Navy gets an extra movement, and it reduces the Allied presence down here in Africa. It means that the Ottomans get a better run in Africa. We'll come to that in a minute too. Let me just slide this out of the way for you. It introduces a new concept which I absolutely love, and I wouldn't mind being able to figure something out for G40 using this same system. Economic and political collapses. I use this sheet of paper up here as my control sheet. It's got various different numbers on here, but the basic premise is that you have your home nations. Say for the Russian Empire here, you have this base area, and their home territories are the ones with their major symbols on there, not ones that they've gone and collected later on. And if they lose some of their major areas, they lose IPCs. It leads to an economic collapse of the country. They can recover economic collapse by retaking these states, but they cannot recover from a political collapse. So that would happen rather than just losing your capital, losing a huge amount of your capital with which to fund your state. So that novel idea will occur sometime in this game, I'm sure, but when we get to that, we'll probably be a long way down the line. Let's have a little bit of a fly around the board, and then we come to this one major righteous air battle which will occur in a wee while. Down here in Africa, we'll start off down here. As I said to you, it gets lightened by a touch, and there's been some backwards and forwards between the Germans and the Brits here. Nothing much has happened, but France have managed to get themselves into Togoland. They got there in turn number 1 by using the Larry Harris tournament rules, where Navy can get a bump of 1 space if they go from one of their Navy bases. Navy base in here in Marseille, guy comes round, 1, 2, 3, and they're into Togoland in turn number 1. Absolutely great for them. They can help out, try to fend off what will happen with the Ottomans, because over in Egypt and Transjordan, the Ottomans are starting to come through. They haven't come through in great numbers, the Ottomans. They're a little bit wary of having Smyrna left wide open, on Constantinople not well defended, with the Brits having a couple of transport ships right down off the coast down here. So they were slightly reticent. I think they could have been a bit more powerful coming forward, but they weren't. But they are taking some IPCs at the moment away from the British economy, and they're going to threaten to come through here. It means the Brits have got to concentrate quite hard on that. There was some French in there, there's some Italians coming over to there to try to help bump that up, but it's a little bit of a tight battle. Ottomans themselves, because of the way this game is played, getting into Africa, they are extremely fun to play now. They were kind of an ancillary nation before, I thought, not quite an afterthought, but their job wasn't fun to play. They are now great fun to play, because if they can get themselves down through North Africa with the lessened Allied presence there, they can grab all these IPCs, all these lovely 1 IPCs, get that into their funding, buy some good equipment, and come back up through Europe and help out the Central Powers. they become quite an important power in this game. They have themselves, I said they were slightly weak going through across from Transjordan into Egypt because they were going for like a three-stage jobby, which hasn't worked out properly for them. The Brits came down, young Lawrence here, in Arabia, ignited the Arabians, and got a little presence there. I think it was 4 units into there. The Ottomans came down and attacked, and Lawrence and his crew did a sterling job in holding back the Ottomans there. Ottomans also wanted to come through Mesopotamia, through Persia, and grab India and kill India early, because the Brits are building around there. They're going through Afghanistan, Kazakhstan to try to help support the Soviets, or the Russian Federation, should I say. But Ottomans try to come through Persia, and the Brits, playing the Persians in here, have done a sterling job in holding back this Ottoman forces. Now, let's get on to the meat and potatoes of this game, where the big battles take place. Up there in Europe, as you can see from this distance, the Soviets, the Russian Empire, have got a plane into Poland, which is one they bought on turn number 1. They got one in Moscow, which they've just bought on the start of turn number 2. And Germany have a plane over there in Berlin. Plus, the one that was in Berlin, they had at the start of the game, has gone over to the Ruhr. The Austro-Hungarians, they had the start of turn number 1. They begin this game quite strongly and get themselves into Serbia here as the start of the prescribed start attacking of this game. And, well, they came through into Serbia. They came through from Budapest into Romania, and they've been kicked back out again. They didn't push themselves too far forward into Ukraine or Poland, etc. There was a small force up there in Poland, just being a bit of a niggly attack, you could say. But the reason being, in the Larry Harris tournament rules, Sevastopol down here gains themselves 3 infantry at the start of the game, as does Livonia. And with the faster movement rules, rightly, Austria-Hungary were worried about going too far forward too quickly. The bad side for Austria-Hungary was down here in Venice. They got themselves into Venice in a big way. They bashed the Italians. The Italians came back, and at the end of round number 1, Italy loaded units from their Rome base forward into Venice, guys from Piedmont, and came through, and the remnants of the Italian army that was there, and they absolutely smashed the last part of Austria-Hungary that was in there. And smashed is entirely the right word. The Italians took 2 infantry as damage. Austria-Hungary lost 9 units in one monster dice roll. It was absolutely fantastic. Wish I'd recorded it, but I didn't do. This throws Central Powers' plans into tatters. The Larry Harris tournament rules do balance this game nicely, but when you get some horrible dice rolls, things go a bit cronk. The Germans didn't push forward from Prussia and Silesia on their turn. They left their force here as a kind of a holding force, and were happy that they would be distracting the Russians, and happy that Austria-Hungary would take care of the southern border, allowing them, the Germans, to go through into France. But they've gone into France. The southern border has absolutely collapsed. Austria-Hungary on turn number 2 have been reinforcing all around this area because they had holes up here caused by the Russian reply. So they're going to ask Germany on their turn to bring their reinforcements down through from the Ruhr here via Munich and into Tyrol, just to stop the Italians from coming back through again. It slows down the German advance into France. That was going extremely nicely. They piled themselves into Belgium. They piled themselves into Lorraine and kicked the guys out of there. And France and Britain, who are forming up the Entente's defence of Western Europe, have done nothing more than load units forward and bulk up in numbers there. Brits have bought themselves a transport ship. They got a couple of guys over from Canada, from way up there. And America, at the end of turn number 1, have made a small purchase of transport ships. They don't come in to this version of the game until the start of turn number 4, as I believe it is in the base game. So that's it. That is the very long, but quick run through of what's happened thus far. We are going to be having the German turn upcoming next. They may be pushing forward into slightly further into France, but these guys here in Prussia, in Silesia, will at least be making one kind of spoiler attack into Poland using this plane from Berlin as well. Let me get everything all sorted out, count my numbers up, make sure I know what I'm doing, and I shall see you on the other side of this. Well, I'm on the other side of this now. We've had a little tidy up here, and we've done the German purchases and their movements thus far. They have bought themselves one more fighter plane, submarine, and some infantry artillery to go with the fighter, with its extra bonus that it's going to be giving throughout this game. As far as the German movements are concerned, they've taken their guys from the Ruhr, taken most of them down into Tyrolia to help support the southern flank. Some guys have gone through and supported the French front, but they're actually going to be battling over in there because they've got this hiccup in their supply line. Now they have to wait an extra turn before they can really push forward into France. It's unfortunate, but that's the way the leper crumbles sometimes. We also got the guys that were in Berlin. Most of them have moved forward this way into the Ruhr. A couple of guys have come across via Prussia into Poland with the Silesia crew and Prussia crew with their airplane to have a bash against these the Russians here in Poland. It's going to be a good battle and an example of our house rule righteous air. So, a quickie count up of what we've got here. We have got, for the Germans, roughly 18 infantry and 8 artillery. For the Russians, we have got 15 infantry and 8 artillery. Quite a close battle there. And we've got five. We've got one plane each on either side. The first thing we must do with the air rule, observing the normal out of the box part, is to roll the dice for the air and to see what the Germans and the Russians would do first up. So with the German dice first, hitting at 2s or lesses, or missing in this case, and then we have to try for the Russian air. Can you do any better? No, you can't. Okay, well that's fortunate in some respects because it does demonstrate the rule very early on in this video. What we would do now normally in the game is you roll again and see until the battle is done to the death. We know all this, but what we're going to do now, let me just pop this out of the way again, is decide on behalf of Germany and on behalf of Russia at the same point in time whether they would want to continue this air battle and risk losing their airplanes. Well, I don't think that Germany would want to lose their airplane. Yes, they have one here. Yes, they have one over in Lorraine. And they have one coming through on their purchase. But they are spread far and wide. Would the Soviets be willing to risk coming forward for a second round of battle? Yes, they've got one plane involved in the battle. Yes, they've got this one plane in Moscow. But this one, they want to bring down really to Romania to help shore up this southern front here, which isn't massively strong. It's not weak, but it isn't massively strong. So I think at this stage, both sides would most likely, in terms of their economics and supply lines, want to leave their planes out of a second round of battling, which is perfectly fine with me. In terms of what happens in the middle of Poland with the boost that they can give, well, they're pretty evenly matched on their artillery, 8 apiece. So I think this just comes down to one massive dice roll. So in that situation, both sides would secretly pick out a red chip each, and then go, right, we're going to show what we've got. We're both playing reds. This battle in the air does not continue. These planes, however, they will get to roll as they would normally do after an air-to-air battle. The surviving planes can have to go at the ground units. So this is exactly what we're going to be doing first, with Germany being the primary player here, trying to hit the ground units, strafe the ground units at a 1 or a 2 after the battle, and it scored a hit. Score a hit now, don't you? Right, that's going to go down there. Then with their artillery being boosted up to a 4, 8 of them, and 8 of their infantries being boosted up to a 3, we can see some massive damage when we roll these dice. We hope, for Germany's sake. For the sake of the game as well. I like big dice rolls, I cannot lie. That should be a song, you know. Let's roll those dice at 4s. And there's a lot of damage there, just 3 misses. Oh, Man alive, that's a good hit. Let's move those down to there. These guys all go in at 3s. This is the German infantry running through with some cover, and there's 3 hits there. 3 hits there. Probably fraction under, but the artillery was a fraction over, I think. And these guys now all going in at 2s. The naked German infantry, and just 3 hits, which that's pretty good overall. No more there. Let me have a quick count up. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12 damage done to the Russian forces. There were only 15 at the start of it, so that's pretty good. I would suggest. I'm more than happy with that. Russia wouldn't be. Let me put 2 dice here, a 1 and a 2, to remind me that 12 are going to be taken out of the Russian forces. We've got 12 dice here, plus 3. I'll get those in my hand right now, but I'm going to roll their aircraft first, their aircraft strafing, because the Russian aircraft gets to strafe and misses. I've now got the 15 dice in my hand to all go in at 3 just for the infantry. And there's a few hits there at 3s. Bit confusing as to where they've fallen, but I believe that is all surviving at 3. Let's just move those to one side. And then there is the artillery, all get boosted up to a 4 because that plane is still in the air. And there's 8 of them. 2, 4, 6, 7, 8 dice in my hand. These are all going in at 4s. Can they do especially hard damage like the Germans did? And it's a bit middly, just a little bit at, no, that's about even, I would suggest, yeah. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Would you Adam and Eve it? That is exactly the same as what the Germans did. So I should take 12 units off of both sides, and I suspect unless France up there decide to get a bit funky with it and have a good pop in Lorraine versus the Germans, which they may yet do. I suspect though that they may just hang back. I'm in 3 minds right now. If they go forward with their air battle, I'll bring that to you as well. If not, I'll see you at the end of turn number 2. Well, I tell a lie, we are still in turn number 2, and France aren't making any kind of attack forward. I was desperately hoping I could pull the trigger and have an attack from Lorraine, from Burgundy into Lorraine, or possibly Picardy into Belgium. I double checked the numbers 15 times, and I just can't pull the trigger from that. But there is some important things going on. We'll do a little mini after action report as well, just while we're here. The Germans, with their Schofen plan, stalling once again on the western border, mainly caused because the Austria-Hungarians getting it so wrong down the south. They're obviously just piling up there on the borders, waiting to come through, and they're going to be coming through in numbers next term, we think. So to that end, France have bulked up there, Brits have bulked up. They bought an extra transport ship. The Brits start bringing some guys over from Canada, as well as shipping supplies straight across the English Channel into Picardy and bringing guys then further down into Burgundy itself. Long sentence, that one, somehow I got it out. But down in Africa, they're little backwards and forwards between the Brits and the Germans. The Brits are now taking control of that, and the French guys wandering around picking up ICPCs where he can do. The important thing, though, which I wanted to get to, is the Ottomans. As I said to you before, they are really fun to play in this version of the game. With this Larry Harris force, that extra impetus of getting into Africa is really good fun for them. But they are looking at the moment really 4 different ways. They've got some guys up here in Bulgaria looking out for the guys in Romania, the Russians there. They've got some guys in Mesopotamia looking at some Russians in Sevastopol. And because they were a little bit previous, is an old term we used to take, getting a bit previous there, the old son, and moved into Persia, they got the Brits playing the Persians coming back towards them. And so, well, with Arabia also now being invaded by the Brits and being bulked up on the British turn, again, Brits haven't been making any attacks, they've just been moving things forward and bulking up. It now means it's probably vitally important that the Ottomans can get into Africa, can close off the Suez Canal and start picking up IPCs as fast as they can. So, to that end, we've flagged up 3 different battles. We've got a skirmish down here at number 1, number 2 in Arabia, and number 3 in Egypt. I'm doing it in this particular order because I believe that this is the most important one and perhaps actually one of the weaker ones that the Ottomans can control here, because there are quite a few Brits in here now and there's some Italians coming through as well. But we're hoping for good dice roll. But if these battles, the previous 2, go particularly well, we can then kind of forgive ourselves and not be too worried about the casualties we do get in Egypt. So that's the reason why I flagged it up in the 1, 2, 3 order. Let's flip across to the battle board and we'll look at the number 1 attack first. So the first battle is the one in Persia. The Ottomans are going in slightly light from here. We can see clearly they are light, but they want to dissuade the Brits. I want to at least tell them that they cannot start bullying those guys around too much. We've got 2 at 3, infantry artillery combination. Let's just get ourselves up onto the battle box. There we go, 2 at 3. And they scored 0 hits there. That's not a good start for the Ottomans. And 2 more dice at 2. And they scored just the 1 hit. That's probably a worst case scenario, I would think, for there. But let's see how the Brits reply in there, because they have got a fair few units from their bulking up job. Well, it's all at 3s, and they've scored just the 2 hits. I think in that case the Ottomans down here have rather got away with it. They lose 2 guys and the Brits just lose 1 guy down here. So that is the end of battle number 1. Not good. It does kind of tell us that we have to be highly successful in battle number 2. Let me slide that one into place when I move a few dice around off camera. We have got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this would be the battle down here in Arabia. There are 1, 2, 3 infantry from the Ottomans and a couple of artillery versus 3 infantry and 1 artillery from the Brits. Again, up onto the battle board. Let's hope for some better rolls for the Ottomans this time round. They get boost up those infantry up to a 3 with their 2 artilleries that are in there. And again, scoring just the 1 hit. That's a really poor show. And their 1 naked infantry runs in and scores a hit. Okay, nice. So the Brits in reply, all going in at 3s. I'm beginning to think the Ottomans have stretched themselves a bit overly. Oh, and they've got 2 hits there from the Brits. Yeah, so it's a score draw, 2-2. We can remove from down here in Persia 2 guys from the Brits. 1, 2. And 2 of the Ottoman guys come off of here as well. Yeah, they have stretched themselves a step or 2 too far, I think we can definitely say. Now, let me reset the battle. Okay, here we go into Egypt. There's the protagonist there. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 infantry and 3 artillery versus 6 Brits and 3 artillery, plus a couple of Italian guys in there as well. Here's the battle board. Let's slide that into place. That's how it looks with dice. You know, I'm beginning to think we've got the Ottomans wrong. I really do. But let's just hope for some good dice rolls. You never know your luck. So here's the 6 dice initially for the Ottomans, all going in at 3s. A good proper shake. A good Ottoman shake in here. And oh, that looks nice. That's 4 hits off there. Beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. It's exactly what they were hoping for. Or maybe even 6 out of 6, but we can't be too greedy. And 2 guys running in naked, and they both miss as well. Okay. Now, these are the British dice. These are Italian dice. It's all the same thing, but it's nice to know who's doing what, because it's nice to know who's doing what. Let's roll in the infantry artillery combinations at 3s for the Italians in defence, and they've managed to score 1 hit. And then the Brits doing their sterling job with 9 dice. Yep. This could be disastrous, but this could be brilliant, whatever happens. And it is just the 3 hits. 1, 2, 3. So I think, actually, I can see 4 hits. I tell a lie. I'm good at that. That's 5 in total off the Ottomans. That will be, we've only got 5 infantry down here in the first place, so it will be all bar 1 of those infantry guys and 1 of the artilleries. Yep, we're going to need a rethink on the Ottoman front, like we've had a rethink on the Southern Europe front. Let me go and cry into my beer, and I will see you in a wee while. Okay, just to tidy up the end of turn number 2, the Brits decided to inflict the casualties on the couple of Italians that were down here in Egypt, which I think was jolly unsporting of them, but needs must sometimes. And the Americans bought themselves some more transport and some artillery units to come across to Europe later on in the game. Now, this game has been very positional thus far, and with this extra movements here, we've had to be putting pieces in place, maybe as blockers sometimes, but certainly as bulk defenders. To that end, Austria-Hungary, well, they've got themselves from Vienna into Tyrolia to try to block this passage off from the south from the Italians. They have boosted up Trieste and Serbia and got some guys into Budapest. They really wanted to attack Romania in an attempt to stop the guys from Ukraine slipping through these 2 places, because if this area is contested, then you can't come through to the other side. As it turned out, Austria-Hungary didn't have the firepower, so they've adopted again another wait and see policy. They have bought themselves 10 units for next turn that will be able to form a proper attacking force, provided things survive. But the Soviets, who themselves did think about, yes, we could still come through Ukraine into Budapest and take this 6 IPC territory, where it would leave a small hole in Ukraine, depending on how units got moved around afterwards, and it would leave the Galicia guys free to come through and take the 3 IPCs back away from the Soviets. So in the end, the best thing we thought of doing was these guys here from Moscow can come down through the Ukraine and into Galicia with the guys that are in the Ukraine, and then put a big blocking force around their western front. Couple of guys from Moscow, plus a plane, plus the guys that were in Belarus originally, can join the guys here into Poland and have another battle, which is why we're joining you right now, because we now have 2 pieces of air from the Soviets, or from Russia, versus the 1 German air. So let's start the board in place. It's all ready to rock and or roll. And as you can see, it's fairly even in terms of the infantry artillery, a little bit of a boost for the Soviets, but this plane battle is going to be important. So the Soviets will roll their 2 dice first. Trying to get a 1 or a 2. Is it on? Yeah, we are in shot there, and they've both missed. Eek! And the German player will roll his dice. He misses as well. So after that turn of battle, we then get to make our selection. I am absolutely for sure thinking that the Soviet player, the Russian Federation, will say we want to go further on and we want to bash again at those places. We got a 2-1 advantage, and the Germans will say not on your Nelly, because we have not got a second plane in the vicinity. So in that case, what we say here is that only half of the German artillery get boosted up to a 4, which is those guys. But all of the Russian artillery gets boosted up to a 4 on that side, using our very special righteous air rules. Let's now have a look at how this thing now starts playing out in the battle. We have 2 Soviet planes, 2 Russian planes. I keep saying Soviet, I'm terribly sorry. 2 Russian Empire planes rolling in at 1s and 2s and getting 1 hit. Nice, that's 1 off the Germans there. Then they've got all these guys at 4, 2, 4, 6, 8, which promotes 8 of their infantry up as well. But these guys are going in at 4 initially. And it's not a brilliant roll, just the 3 hits out of that, which is a slight underroll, you have to say. The infantry guys going in under the cover of their artillery units go in at 3s. And that's a little bit better. They've got 4 hits there they've scored. And the guys running in naked all go in at 2s. And they scored 2 hits. That's pretty good. 2 out of 3. 2 out of 3 ain't bad. That's a song somewhere, isn't it? So let me just move them to one side as I do count up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 hits. Is that? That's pretty good. In reply, the German player, his one plane rolls in, trying to strafe the ground units and missing. Their artillery, just half of them get boosted up to the 4s. And they've scored 4 hits out of it. Oh, they'd be well pleased with that. Lovely. And now the 3 artillery not getting boosted up in any direction from the air. And they've scored 4 hits as well. Oh my giddy aunt, how have they managed that? That is superb for the Germans. And now the infantry guys running in at 3s. And that's a hatful too. Wow, another 4 hits. Germany will be absolutely stoked by that. I shall do all the counting up off camera, and I'll make the adjustments over here, and then I get ready for the second battle, which is these guys who are sweeping down here into Galicia. One moment. Okay, here is how it ended up in Poland. Obviously, the Russian Empire took a hell of a kicking there. They are now slightly worried because they've only got 1 infantry guy in there to go along with their artillery, and all these Germans here in Berlin can come through and potentially kick them again, although they may want to accept the score draw that's happening here and perhaps go towards France. We'll have to see what happens on the German turn for that. Down here in Galicia, the Soviets have 10 regular infantry, 4 boosted infantry and 4 artillery in there. No planes to come get involved in the battle. And the Austro-Hungarians have about 10 units themselves, a mixture of infantry, artillery. Let's roll that into place. Let me just scroll this back a little bit. 1 second. There we go. And we now have our Russian Federation or Russian Empire guys rolling in at 3s. They are 8 of them, mixture of infantry and artillery. And that's a much better roll. That's almost like the German roll from the last turn. 8 guys there. I can only see 1 guy that's missed. That is really going to hurt the Austro-Hungarians. And you call them Australians. Good day, mate. And all these guys are going in here at 2s. What can we do? Oh, going to wreck the place now by throwing me dice everywhere. Oh my god. These are all at 2s. And there are just 3 hits, but I mean that's probably absolutely average. That was flicked with my finger. It wasn't a 2, but that first roll with the infantry artillery, that's what's done the damage there. We've now got these 9 dice from the Austro-Hungarians, all going in at 3s, be it infantry or artilleries. There's nowhere to boost them, and that's looked pretty good as well, I think. And there's 1, 2, 3, 4. 5 hits they've done onto the Russian Empire forces. Let's have a quick look at that. It's quite simple to do as far as what the Russian Empire loses. They lose one of these blue chips. Simple as. But there's another blue chip down below it, as you can see. And 2, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 off of the Austro-Hungarians. They're going to be losing some artillery pieces as well. Let me tidy all that up. I think that's going to be the end of the Russian turn, apart from putting their reinforcements on, which is a predictable infantry artillery buy down here. Other than that, see you in a bit. Okay, so leftovers from there was the Austro-Hungarian guy is there on his own, quaking like a posh duck, I shouldn't wonder, in Galicia. The Germans have had to pull back now because they're on the German turn. They've pulled back from Poland, giving the IPCs back, taking away economic collapse points from the Soviets. They're now on 0 points. They've moved back into Silesia and Prussia, the Germans, and reinforced from Berlin. They think their southern border is safe. They are continuing their campaign into France. They've also brought themselves infantry, artillery and a submarine to try to run some submarines around the top of the board, back into the Atlantic, and do economic damage later on in the game. They are, however, being a little bit ambitious, perhaps certainly being very brave in going forward with their attack into Burgundy. All the Lorraine crew, bar a couple, have gone into there. Some of the guys from Rouen have gone into Belgium, Belgium gone into the 2 steps through Lorraine into Burgundy with the Larry Harris movement bits and pieces. So if I had to leave one guy behind to catch a plane and one guy just to be annoying and take up Lorraine, just in case these guys from Picardy decide to come back through again, which they should do, I think, but they're just being an annoyance there. This is the battle we are talking about, though. We have got, let me roll everything in place. We have got, finally, for Germany, for the fatherland, 4, 8, 12, 16, 18 infantry units in there, plus 11 artillery and a plane on both sides. France have got 17 infantry and only 6 artillery. So let's start rolling some dice and stop waffling. Germany, with the Baron von Richthofen flying in there. He misses. Okay. And then Pierre von Pierre, the French pilot, well known, he misses as well. So let's have a little think about this. I think that with France having just the 6 artillery pieces, but wanting to protect its capital, because obviously the capital there is in some kind of danger with so much German forces coming through, I think both sides would be happy to play their chip again. So I am going to say, unilaterally, making a decision for both sides, that both Germany and France would reveal we want to carry on with this battle for at least one more round, see what happens. Baron von Richthofen II flies in, and he scores a hit. Nice. So that is France definitely going to lose their plane here. What can Pierre von Pierre do? He scores a hit too. So, well, I guess all's fair in love and war. Both sides lose their planes, so neither side get air supremacy and can lift their artilleries. Let me just take the planes off of the map 1 second, because I am prone to forgetting things like that. Get them out of the way before I forget. Of course, Germany do have that one plane coming through, and France haven't been able to afford to bring a plane through this time round. So, for the artillery, there's going to remain at 3s, but there are 11 German artillery down here. So we can go 6, 10, 11, all getting raised up to 3. That is one massive dice roll versus France. So big, I need 2 hands. And that is an absolute monster load of 1s and 2s. I don't know if you can see that. Let's just make that bigger as well, because I'm only seeing a few 4s and 6s there. The rest of them are monster dice roll. Let's take those ones out. That one, that one, that one, that one, and that one. And let's just move all this dice into one place now. Eight. 4, 8, 12. Oh, that's nasty. So we have got the 7 remaining dice for the infantry running in naked. They don't mind running in naked against that, because what's left? Well, 2 more hits, so that's be taken off of the French forces. Wowee, that is more than Germany could expect, I think, from that. That's absolutely marvellous. In reply, we will have 17 plus 6 is 23. I'm not sure I've got 23 dice left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. I've got 20 dice in my hand, so 3 will get rolled after that. This is all the French units trying to defend at a 3 in Burgundy. Or French and Brits, because there's a mixture of them in there. And that is pretty massive too. Wowee. So those 5s don't hit. Nor does that one, nor does that one, and nor does that one. So we count all of those as hits, because I can just see 2s and 3s all over the place. And we've got 3 more dice to roll. We just shove them up there to try to avoid too much confusion. And there's 3 more hits. That is monster, absolutely monster. 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 17 hits. Wowee. Let me tidy all that up over there in France and then get back to you when it looks a little bit tidier and we can see quite clearly who's going to hold the advantage there. I think Germany have overstretched themselves far too much, far too soon. Okay, these are the casualties here from that battle in Burgundy. The German guys convalescing in Sardinia, the French in Corsica. We're taking them out of the way. The battle in Burgundy, the enemy result was Germany had 1 infantry unit and some artillery. They're untouched at the moment. I think when France reply, we may see the end of the German artillery there in Burgundy. They have pushed forward quite quickly. It's an ambitious plan, going for Paris early. Probably stymied by Austria-Hungary's problems that they had in the Tyrol. We're not going to cry about it. We're just aggressive when we play these games because aggression is always fun. I think that's probably going to be it for turn number 3 as well, because there's no more air-to-air battles going off anywhere. This battle down here in Africa will continue to a small degree. I think the Brits versus the Ottomans, it's a little bit on tenterhooks at the moment, but not really worth bringing you all the dice rolls for that. And obviously the Eastern Front, we've already seen some of that already. So that's plenty enough recording time for now. I think that'll do for video number 1. I'll see you in video number 2 coming up sometime soon. Until then, be cool.